Tell me.
It's a quarter pounder with melted cheese and mayo. You see, the simplicity is what makes...
Add another patty.
Another? But Sawyer, that will make it a half pounder.
Add bacon.
Bacon?
Crispy onions.
Burger King has gone wild and brought back the Steakhouse King. 2 quarter-pound flame grilled beef patties, thick-cut bacon, A1 thick and hearty sauce, crispy onions, melted cheese, and mayo. Only $7.50 or $10.35 for the combo, and only at Burger King for a limited time.
Digital banking, online, RBC. RBC Banking Online. Pay your bills anytime.
RBC Digital Banking is so easy. Even Granny and Granddad can do it. Sign up for online banking or download the RBC Caribbean app.
With RBC, it's safe and easy. Send your money hassle-free. RBC.
Visit rbc.com/Caribbean/bank at home. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
Roll back. Roll back.
Every Wednesday, all Rubis stations are rolling back the price on all fuel purchases by 20 cents. Every customer will save 20 cents on every gallon of fuel purchased on Wednesday. Every customer, only at Rubis.
Roll back. Roll back.
Only at participating Rubis service stations.
Live from Star 927 Studios in the center of Cayman's capital city, Georgetown. This is Straight Talk with Ruth Anna.
Good evening, everybody. You are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young. Always honored to be your host here on Straight Talk every Monday through Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here and nowhere else other than Star 92.7. It is 5:04 on the Star 92.7 clock, and it is the 7th of September. Happy birthday to anyone who's celebrating birthdays today. And it is Monday, which means it is Medical Monday, brought to you by our partners at Health City Cayman Islands. Today's topic for our Medical Monday will be the Healthcare Explorers Education Program at Health City Cayman Islands. And they have recently completed their annual research fellowship called SURF. And it is the first time that this is conducted virtually. We will get to meet Zoe Conolly Basdeo, who participated as their SURF student and the first ever virtual program. And so she has watched surgery. She did all her lectures. We're going to learn so much from her and Mr. Charles Bush, who is the Senior Education Coordinator at Health City Cayman Islands, as well as we are expecting Mr. Shomari Scott to join us in studio as well. But we have Mr. Charles and Miss Zoe joining us via the virtual stream. 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also reach me via WhatsApp if you have questions, comments, or concerns at 324-1565. You can also email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com. And of course, we are streaming live video from the Star 92.7 Facebook page. So you can certainly also watch the show there, listen to the show there, leave your comments, questions in the stream, and I will read them and share them with the listening public as well. But you guys know the deal. Before we go any further into our conversation here on Straight Talk, we always start our time together with the reading of today's Daily Bread. So today's Daily Bread is entitled Now, Then Next. And the scripture comes from Proverbs 2, verse 7 and reads, "He holds success in store for the upright." I recently attended a high school graduation during which the speaker provided a needed challenge for the young adults awaiting their diplomas. He mentioned that this was a time in their lives when everyone was asking them, what's next? What career would they be pursuing next? Where would they be going to school or working next? Then he said that the more important question was what they were doing now. In the context of their faith journey, what daily decisions would they be making that would guide them to live for Jesus and not for themselves? His words reminded me of the book of Proverbs, which makes many pointed statements about how to live now. For instance, practicing honesty now, choosing the right friends now, living with integrity now, having good judgment now, and speaking wisely now. Living for God now by the leading of the Holy Spirit makes the decisions about what is next much easier. The Lord gives wisdom. He holds success in store for the upright. He guards the course of the just and protects the way of his faithful ones. May God supply what we need for us to live by his guidelines right now. And may He guide us into what's next for His honor. Thanks be to God for that word today. As always, great talk. We remind you, we encourage you to spend time each and every day focused on His word, meditating on His grace and how awesome He is, whether it be the morning or the evening or right here with me, Monday through Thursday on Straight Talk. With that, we go right into this conversation. And as I promised the listening public, Miss Zoe, it is your first time in the Straight Talk studio, regardless that it is virtual at this days, that these days that's what's normal. So everybody is dying to know who your mama is.
So, hello everyone. I'm Zoe Conolly Basdeo. I'm a 19-year-old BSc psychology student at King's College London. I'm super happy to be here today. And my wonderful parents are Marilyn Connolly and Dax Basdeo.
Listen, you did your parents proud. So share with me a little bit to give me some of the resume version, some of the non-resume version. Do you like cats, skydiving? What's going on in your life at this time? If people want to get to know it beyond literally who your mama and your daddy is, just share with them a little bit about yourself so people can get a better idea of who Zoe is.
Of course. So I'm a huge foodie and I love traveling a lot. I've been to a variety of different countries. I actually studied in Japan for 2 years prior to going to London and taking a gap year. During my gap year here, I had the opportunity to work with a wonderful bunch of different organizations and people, and my passion is youth mental health. And I aspire in the future to come back to Cayman and provide my services as a psychologist to help improve the mental health of young people in Cayman.
Awesome. And so where are you studying now?
At King's College London.
Okay, at King's College London. How much longer do we have left?
I'm in my second year right now. I'm going to be starting in around a couple of weeks.
Okay. And what made you decide that this is what you wanted to study?
I believe that the mind and understanding the mind is absolutely crucial to having a healthy, happy, and functioning society. And I believe that the importance of mental health disorders cannot be overlooked. We have our physical health, we have to take care of our mental health, especially in creating a future where these young people will rise to be the leaders in our society. We have to give them the help they need. And I believe that studying psychology is going to help me make a massive difference.
And thank you for sharing that. And I will just back that up by saying I agree, because I felt like for a moment there you maybe want to make me feel like I want to say amen, because I think what you're saying is so important. And I absolutely agree with you that focusing on the mental health of our children and just the younger generation is a critical part of the healthcare system that we need to continue to focus on. So I appreciate the work that you are doing, and I look forward to you completing your studies and joining us back at home and sharing all that you've learned and being able to add to our society in that way. So wishing you, whenever you do return to the UK, because you're going back soon from my understanding, but safe travels and a great almost final year.
Thank you.
Right. So, and so, Mr. Charles, I would like to for you to just and hold on, wait.
Sorry, where you sound, man?
You promised me something, right? So, I know you are the gentleman that knows all of our family trees. Although you say not everybody's, but I feel like you know everybody family tree. So, if you could do your Mr. Charles magic and share any additional insight that you might have, to Zoe's.
Sorry,
queen.
I lost you there for a good. After you said Mr. Charles, I lost you. I lost sound. So can you back up for me?
Yes. No, I was asking you if you were going to add anything to our Who Your Mama Is segment this afternoon, since you are the man with the family histories and the lineages in store. If you had anything to add for us this afternoon before asking other questions.
But just a little bit. I mentioned to Zoe this morning before the morning show that her grandmother, Mrs. Joy, had asked me to help her with her family tree. So I've been doing some research there. And I told Joey that, well, it was actually Mrs. Joy that told me in the first place, but her grandmother's paternal Jackson line actually traces back to Jackson's in South Carolina. And Mrs. Joy's great-great-grandfather was an ex-Confederate soldier from South Carolina. Her Miss Francine Powell, who married Mr. Vernon Jackson, she is also a Jackson descendant, but those are the Jacksons from St. Mary, Jamaica, who settled in Cayman.
Okay.
So,
Thank you for that. And Mr. Shomari has arrived in studio, and so in short course, I will open up his microphone to invite him into this conversation so that he can share some information with us. But in the meantime, in between time, I think we're ready. So I'm gonna start up his microphone, Mr. Scott. A pleasure to have you back in the studio. I am good. I'm good. Welcome back physically into the Straight Talk studio.
What's the saying? Ashantis.
I don't know what.
I might be late, but I'm always on time.
I don't subscribe to that, Shomari.
How old are you? You seem too young. You don't remember that song, or what's going on?
I'm like, okay. Don't ask me movie lines. Do not ask me song lyrics. Don't ask me the name of actors and actresses. Or don't ask me the name of like.
Well, I'm gonna have to talk to John. Then. You can't be on Star 92.7 and don't know music.
Listen, I tell him call John. That's what I tell him. I say, me ain't name DJ Renegade. You call John. You want to know? I said, I tell people all the time. I said, because I certainly like people think that all this music, the stars before and after Straight Talk, they think I'm responsible for that. No, sir. I said there's a different master behind.
We expected it to rub off on you. We expected that type of telekinesis.
No, sir. No, sir.
Well, it's great to be here and actually see you in person.
Yes. Same. We gonna have to check out the socks very shortly, but so we gotta get back into these traditions.
I was running late, so I didn't even get a chance to put back on my tie, just the jacket.
Not to worry.
I would have loved the tie because it was monochromatic in regards to the pants, the shirt, and the tie without the jacket. Obviously.
I feel like when you get dressed in the morning, I think what happens is you ask Michelle for be like.
So what you trying to give her credit?
I feel like she gives you a little tip off, right? Be like, this is the words we're gonna use, babe. The
reason that word has always stuck with me. We were having some trivia night, and that morning I was at tourism, and the then director said, "Oh, you're monochromatic," and I was like, "What is that?" Right? And I went and I Googled it, and it was like the same color, different shades of the same color, and it was trivia night, Friday night, and the last question was, what do you call different shades that are the same color? And I won the actual trivia by saying monochromatic, and it's stuck with me ever since. So that's the story behind it.
Okay, so we're gonna give trivia night the credit for that.
Yes.
Shout out to Mr. Theodore Kelly of 24/7 Towing, who is always locked in on Facebook. He says, "Lady RY is forever young." I appreciate you, Mr. Theodore. Thank you for tuning in as always. We're gonna dive right into it. We've had Who Your Mama Is. Mr. Charles has given us a little bit of family lineage, but I've saved this question for you so we can dive into Healthcare Explorers and your SURF program. We've gotten to know Miss Zoe just a little bit, and she shared a bit with us. But we are here talking about the Health City education programs, and in particular your first ever virtual SURF program in which Zoe participated. But for those who may not know and are less familiar, could you share with everyone, what is your SURF program?
And that one I'm going to leave to Charles, but what I'm going to actually do is just start by stating that we're ecstatic that every September We always have this as our first show when we come back from the summer break,
Awesome.
just to outline what we've done in the year past. And we count the student interactions, knowing that we want to have Caymanians find medical pathways towards their career, or at least experience it and taste it. And if they decide this isn't what they want to do, that's fine. Or if they have a love for science and it's not healthcare, that's also fine. We're bringing the community and the younger Caymanians into an element that they otherwise potentially wouldn't have gained access to. So in 2014, we had 18 interactions. 2015, 14-15, right? 236. 2015-16, 317. 2016-17, we had 177, and that's because good there, Mr. Charles had another position that he was doing, so the numbers suffered during the year. But 2017-18 is when I would have taken over the program in earnest in working with Charles to set objectives, to say, how are we going to achieve making sure as many students as possible experience our various products. And we had 730, which was almost as much as the first 4 years combined. It was like 15 less than the first 4 years combined. And then last year when we came to you, we had done 2,414, which was more than the first 5 years combined.
Wow.
And we come back to you today having completely exceeded that feat, in that we've done 4,315 in this last year alone. So once again, we've actually surpassed now the first 6 years in regards to the number of student interactions. So that's something that we're excited about, the fact that we have made sure that there's so many different touch points for children of all ages to be able to taste the medical products that we're putting out there from an educational standpoint. And what I will do is hand it over to Charles for him to explain exactly what SURF is.
Okay.
But just to mention that previously, when obviously we were in the COVID world, and we had to look at, one real option was tell everybody you're not allowed to come to the hospital, obviously physically. So sorry, we're not going to be able to provide this. Or we had 2 or 3 other options, and the one we landed on was based on the fact that we have one of our best products that we put out is the on-demand videos, where we had discussed that previously. When we look strategically, you can't always get people to come into the hospital, but how do we get into the schools, tab it to their curriculum to make sure that the teachers are getting what they need to get out of it. Okay, we're teaching light this semester. How do we use our radiology department to show how light is used in science? And now we're talking about radiology in a medical sense, but still helping the teachers to hit the core component of what they need to teach in that semester. So we were always producing videos. We said, what are the different components of SURF? All right. And one was a tour. So what we did is we got good old Jevi Ebanks, who is well known to this demographic of university students, to go ahead and actually host the tour of the facility for us virtually. And then we had the different Zoom consultations, the Zoom meetings with the different doctors, as well as the insurance department, marketing department, so students can see the full functioning of the hospital. We usually would carry them into live surgery, so we did that virtually. And then we would always have the paper they would need to write about a case and to actually give the patient pathway and write about the cases. And what we did was use the case of the pull through the chest and actually added different components to it, but had the students actually review it and write their paper on that at the back end, all done virtually. And we were able to put that product out there. And as we discussed, we're like, listen, one true option is not doing it, because if we can't give the quality that is needed from a virtual type of experience, we don't want to do the reverse and turn young people off from pursuing health because we didn't do justice to what we were able to show. So we made sure it was the highest quality, and having a great team, we put it together, and obviously Charles will be able to just give you a brief overview of SURF, and then I know we all want to hear from Zoe.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing that, Shomari. So I will go straight and turn it over to Mr. Charles. And if you could, as Shomari has mentioned, just explain to us this specific program, SURF, which is your Summer Undergraduate Research Fellowship. Share with everyone, what exactly is involved in this program from a curriculum, a viewpoint. And then I want to speak to Zoe about her experience of that curriculum done through virtual means. So if you could share with everyone,
Right.
what is
Well, SURF is one of our oldest, well, actually our oldest education product. When Shomari mentioned that first figure of 18, that was a summer undergraduate program. So the goal is, this is the program for university students, because of course everything else we do, we reach out to the primary school students and the high school students, with the university students being home during the summer. SURF is for them. And really the idea is that they would take a case study that we give them and examine that case from all the different facets that we ask them to examine. So it's not only the medical side, but it's insurance, it's billing, finance, supply chain, all these different facets that go into our healthcare model at Health City Cayman Islands. And then they receive that information in lectures as primary research, and then to go in the background and do secondary research to support their finding and their learnings in those lectures. And then the outcome of that would be a 10 to 15 page paper that the students would write to develop a holistic plan of care for their patient. This was the first year that we had students all work on the same case study. Usually everybody gets their own individual case study. But this year was the first time that we gave everyone the same case study. And even to that was presented virtually. We produced a series of videos to present the facts of the medical case, and that was presented to them in a series of videos, and then followed up then by daily lectures. 10 a.m. every day, the students had to attend a lecture by Zoom from the various professionals. We also had a collaborative session with medical personnel who were involved in the actual case, led by Dr. Benoit, and other such sessions. So that took 3 weeks of, intensive work with the students. And then they were given the following week then to write their 10 to 15 page paper. That is turned in. And we grade on a pass-fail basis, and the pass grade is 75%.
Okay.
And this year is every student that finished the program passed their paper, and this is the first year in about 5 years that we've had such a large cohort, and to have everyone pass their paper in a virtual program gives us the data to show that the virtual program worked better in some respects than the in-person programs, because usually we'll have a maybe say 10% will not pass, but every single student passed. So high results, high quality program, high results this year, large cohort. So now over to Zoe.
It sounds like all in all, what happened was you guys committed to running a high quality program, and that's what happened. That it just continues to showcase the commitment to these education programs that Health City continues to offer to expose young Caymanians, variety of stages to the healthcare profession to help them in their decision-making process. Now, Zoe, I'm going to ask you to one question that I'll ask you to answer before we'll go out to our first break. So this was your first Health City Cayman Islands education program, essentially, right? If I'm correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay, because I know I've had the pleasure of interviewing students in the past who have gone through a number of the Health City Cayman Islands education programs, because they have programs that range for all sorts of ages and stages in this process. This was your first program, not only to mention that you are a psychology major, and I'm going to dive into that when we come back to the break, but only to say at this juncture, it highlights for me that this program is useful for anyone who is considering, and these programs, or even if you're considering anything remotely related to the healthcare profession. Why did you choose to apply to the Health City Cayman Islands SURF program? Why did you decide to do that as a psychology major?
Well, in psychology is a heavy focus on research. So I already wanted to improve my research skills. But what I found that the SURF program offered me uniquely was the opportunity to understand the holistic picture behind many of the medical decisions that are made. So you have the surgeries, you have the mental health referrals, but you have the insurance and finance team, you have the supply chain team. There's a whole network of departments that are working together to make these decisions happen. So I found that SURF would allow me to really explore these, understand these practically, so that when I come back to Cayman to work as a psychologist, I will have a much better understanding of all the different facets that I need to consider when I work with other professionals.
Awesome. And what was your experience like? What was it like to participate in this program virtually and not physically in the hospital?
It was still very rewarding. Mr. Bush and the rest of the Healthcare Explorers team did a fantastic job of making sure we had a wealth of resources available to us, like all the lectures were recorded and uploaded to YouTube for us, which in some ways was a bit better than maybe in person, because in person you'd be looking at the lecture and trying to write at the same time. But since the videos were uploaded online, we could still pay attention to the lecture. And if we needed to brush up on some key points or terminology missed, we could go to the videos online. So in some ways, it was definitely a lot more beneficial than even in person.
Very, very interesting. So I suspect that with 100% pass rate, what is at least 1 of 11 participants giving a rave review to the virtual program, this might be around to stay. Do you, Shomari, even though this came about as a result of COVID-19 and the pandemic and all the precautions that had to be taking place, given the results of the SURF program, are there any discussions at this stage as to whether you guys will continue a virtual program or some amalgamation of virtual and in person, or still we'll see what next year brings?
So it's always about continuous improvement, right? So nothing will, if a doctor or a medical professional will need to deal with people, right? Nothing is going to actually be better than in-person type of experience and or seeing and speaking to the doctors. However, Zoe just made an important point, right? We can learn from what has worked. And if, for instance, videotaping the lectures and uploading it next time, even though they were in person, is what happened to either pay better attention and ask better questions when you're there, knowing that they'll be able to have reference material afterwards. And we can take that into the consideration when we are ready to have people, students physically in the hospital again. But I don't think it would ever replace persons physically there, but we can always enhance it and make it better. And that's just one example of why the students probably did better. Although I don't want to make it too easy, because I recall one of the greatest benefits of sixth form for me before I went to college was sitting and hearing a professor speak for an hour and a half and having to take notes and having to listen and needing to answer questions without any reference material. So when I actually went to the US, I was leap years ahead in regards to being able to take notes and being able to digest. So Zoe, we don't want to make it too easy. Definitely, if it does help, then that's something that we will definitely look at in order to enhance the program in future.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. It is now 5:32 on the Star 92.7 clock, which means we are going out to our first break of our time together. We'll be back in about a minute and a half. So I ask you to hang tight. We'll be back for some more Medical Monday, brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands right here on Star 92.7.
Join the conversation. The phone lines are now open. 943-3700. You can also find us on Facebook or email us at straighttalkci@gmail.com.
Reintroducing an old favorite and the only local family dining experience in Cayman. Champion House 2 have joined forces with the local eatery and is now open with a diverse food and adult beverage offering. Join us during the week for our buffet breakfast or lunch, or de-stress weekends on Fridays from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. and Saturdays until 12 a.m. Music to keep you entertained, catering services to suit any budget. Let the local eatery at Champion House 2 cater to you by calling 916-5736 or 329-5550, or place your order via Island Grub or the Let's Eat app today.
At last, it's back to school time at Office Supply. Kids can win big, parents can save more. You'll save 10, 15, or 20% off your purchase, depending on how much you spend. Get geared up with scientific calculators from $2.95, 11-piece math set with 2-in-1 compass from $3.95, composition book starting at 99 cents, and much, much more. Your safety is very important to us, so pre-order and we'll shop for you. And enter to win our back-to-school drawings, including a chance to win one of 2 laptops or printers. Office Supply, widest selection, lowest prices. Place your order today. Email b2s@officesupply.ky or call 946-1200 today.
Have you checked out the Island Heritage Insurance website? They have upgraded their online payment options to make it easier for you to get a quote, make a claim, and renew your policy. Log on to islandheritageinsurance.com. Island Heritage Insurance is also here for you this hurricane season with helpful tips from their Hurricane Handbook. Just log on to islandheritageinsurance.com/hurricane.
Welcome back to Straight Talk with Ruth Anna on Star 927.
We are back, folks, and you are tuned into Straight Talk, brought to you exclusively by Star 92.7 Premium Radio. I am your host, Ruth Anna Young. It is Monday, which means it is Medical Monday, brought to you by our partners at Health City Cayman Islands. Today, I am joined through various studio means, virtual and in person, by 3 of our guests from Health City Cayman Islands. We have Chief Business Officer, Mr. Shomari Scott, the Senior Education Coordinator, Mr. Charles Bush, and one of their most recent SURF students, Ms. Zoe Conolly Basdeo. We've spent the first half of the show getting to know Zoe a little bit, learning once again what is the SURF program. This is their first ever virtual SURF program. Zoe was one of 11 participants in this cohort. We are getting updates as to what this year has looked like for Health City in relation to the number of students who've been and children and young people who've been impacted through their various education programs, as well as to kind of learn a little bit more about how this virtual program, kind of what it looked like, what the experience was like, virtual surgeries, virtual lectures, the whole gamut. We have some more catching up to do with Ms. Zoe. 943-3700 is the line in studio. You can also WhatsApp me at 324-1565. You can email me at straighttalkci@gmail.com. We are also streaming live video from the Star 92.7 Facebook page. So if you are tuned in via Facebook, you can also leave your questions, comments, or concerns there, and I will share them with the guest in studio or with the listening public as well. I want to go straight over to Miss Zoe. We had started to catch up with her about her experience. So, it was the first ever virtual program, Zoe. It was your first opportunity of participating with one of the Health City Cayman Islands education programs. By your account, it all went off without a hitch, and it was still a great learning experience. So tell me, I am very curious to know, what was it like to watch a virtual surgery, which was part of this program for you? If you tell me a little bit about what surgery did you get to watch, what did you learn?
Well, it was very exciting. I've never seen a surgery before. So it was the left arthroscopic surgery. So not your, big, gory, anything like that. It was very minimally invasive. Obviously, nothing beats in person. That would have been fantastic. But Healthcare Explorers did a fantastic job of creating a detailed and informative video for us. And we were to make notes on that and help use that to guide our case study and treatment plan write-up. So that was very exciting.
Awesome. And what were just through the course? How many weeks is this program? Remind me.
It's 4 weeks. There are 3 weeks of lectures, and then they have the fourth week is writing week, and writing week.
So 4 weeks. Zoe, what were some of the highlights for you during this 4 weeks in this program? The things that stood out in your memory, the greatest learning opportunities for you.
One of the highlights for me was a roundtable kind of virtual Zoom discussion with some of the medical professionals actually involved in the case study we were working on. That was so interesting to me because it wasn't some far removed, strange case. We had the chance to actually talk to these medical professionals who were there in an emergency scenario with this patient. Ask them questions about exactly what did you do? Why did you make this decision? And what are the benefits of these decisions over other treatment opportunities? So that was a fantastic learning opportunity, I think, for me and my fellow cohort mates. And another great opportunity I feel like I had was my mentor was a consultant psychiatrist at Health City. So I had a very unique aspect and could incorporate that into my paper on the mental health referral process. And because this was a polytrauma patient, multiple traumas, obviously it's going to be a very significant blow, not just physically, but mentally. This patient is going to struggle a lot. So I was able to talk with the consultant psychiatrist himself on what treatment was available for this person. So that was amazing for me as well.
Did that give you insight that because you're going into, what's it, your third year of your degree?
Year.
So you're going into your second year?
Yes.
Okay, so your degree is 3 years in total?
It is, yes.
Okay, so you're going into your second of 3 years, and given the nature of what you're studying and what you were exposed to during SURF, what would you say that if you had to pick one thing, okay, so I'll make this a little bit difficult. If you had to pick one thing that you took away from, that you learned during the SURF program that you may not have otherwise, at least to this point in your education, that about your future career in psychology, tell me, one of the greatest takeaways for you in terms of your future as a psychologist and what that career might look like.
I think the biggest thing for me was the understanding practically of how theoretical decisions are carried out. In my degree, there's a heavy emphasis on the theory and case studies, but being able to actually talk with professionals and see, okay, well, this is a treatment plan. What steps are taken in conjunction with the many other departments involved to execute this? And that level of understanding, I believe, sets me apart from other students in my degree, because not many first-year students have the opportunity to talk with professionals like these on real-life cases so early on in their educational career. And that serves for me being able to come back to Cayman once my degrees are finished. I'll have that extra level of awareness of, I can't just wish for this to happen, theoreticize for this to happen. I know that there's going to be a lot of different people involved. I know that it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have to work with a bunch of people, and this is a process that it will take practically. So that was very enlightening.
Thank you for sharing that. And Mr. Charles, I know that you are, I guess, you're the person that heads up the education aspect of and these programs at Health City Cayman Islands. When you are sitting alongside and planning alongside the medical professionals and others at Health City for these various programs, what is your hope and the hope of the team at Health City that students like Zoe and other young Caymanians will take away, or how will they benefit from the various programs that you guys put on?
Our hope is that we can ignite passion in the students for science, first of all, and hopefully a career in the medical field. And you'll see this through all of our education products. for example, Shomari mentioned the education videos that we produce for the schools. In the last school year, they were viewed 2,676 times, which shows their appeal to the schools. But the unique aspect that we take, Shomari mentioned light. You know, the students were actually studying matter. And we took that topic and looked at it from the perspective of radiology. So illuminating our students to the medical application of science helps us to ignite the passion within them for the medical field, because some of them would not have known that, you know, here's this application of light and matter in the medical field. And we actually have students on video saying how much that particular video, which is meant for the primary schools, how much that particular video excited them. And those are the reactions that we want. We want to catch their attention early, because we know from research that 53% of students make decisions to pursue the medical field either before high school or during high school. So that is why when Shomari and I sat down 2 years ago with the rest of the strategic planning team, we decided we needed to be in the primary schools. And for the past 2 years, we have been.
Okay, and thank you for sharing that, Mr. Charles. And I actually want to turn to Shomari for a second, because I know one of the things that Shomari has pointed out on a number of occasions in coming on the show and talking about these programs and other aspects of Health City is that it's very much a focus of, and hence the development of these programs and other things, to ensure that Health City is helping to foster Caymanians going into the healthcare industry and related fields. And if I had to ask you, you know, where do you feel like you are in that journey? We see the numbers increasing, right? And you've been with Health City since more than the beginning, right? As I didn't feel right saying the beginning. And this has, to my knowledge, has long been the intention and one of the aspirations of Health City. Not only to, of course, you want to see more and more Caymanians join the team at Health City, but from any conversations we've had, there's always been a goal to help just generally foster more Caymanians in the healthcare profession, right? If you had to give yourself a grade, so to speak, or even just speak to where you feel like you are as an organization in helping with that goal, how's that going? How do you feel about where you're at with that as an organization?
Yeah, so I mean, hearing somebody like Zoe talk about, even though she is in the psychology field, how much this program has helped her and how she can actually see it helping her in the future as well, means we've been successful, right? If you have a Zoe that's talking about the program and has had such a great experience and was able to gain access to the physicians that were actually involved in a case that's highly specialized, pull through the chest. Not every facility would be able to say the person survived and look how great the person is doing, after we had a multidisciplinary team actually deal with that patient. So that's success in and of itself. But obviously seeing the numbers that we're able to achieve, and then just the eye test, when I would have told you this story previously, when there are actual dress up days in regards to professionals that you want to be in the future.
Yes.
And 3, 4, 5 years ago, everybody was a policeman and a fireman and, and the such, or a princess and those sorts of things, right?
Yes. Accountant, banker.
Well,
not
too many of them,
okay.
Especially in the primary level. But now when you go to those type of days, because I'm dropping off my children, and 70 to 80% are
Yeah.
doctors or nurses or scientists, even though they're mad scientists with hair all over the place. It's letting you know that even at that age,
Mhm.
they're figuring out that this is something I can be and this is something I want to be,
Yes.
which definitely is a sign of success.
Mhm.
However, when we will truly see success is 5 years from now, 7 years from now. One of two things. I think Charles has the statistic that 17% of students going overseas to study will be in a medical type field. When you see
Excellent.
that number increase to 25, 30, 35%, as well as when you come back and you see our medical fraternity teaming with young Caymanians or
Mhm.
middle-aged Caymanians, depending on how
Mhm.
old they are, just based on the amount of years it takes you
Yes.
to be qualified in at certain levels of the medical profession, then we'll know that we would have been successful. But any component we can look at right now is
Mhm.
pointing to the fact that we are really, really making a dent, and it's through partnerships. It's through
Mhm.
partnerships with the schools. It's having parents who are interested,
Yes.
as well as obviously the children and young adults and adults that are coming through the programs and putting in the effort and engaging with our medical professionals that are giving up their time. That it's that full component of everybody working together that will make us successful, that in 5-10 years from now, then we'll truly see the success of programs like this.
You're absolutely correct. And as you were talking, one of the things that I thought about is that if COVID and this pandemic has taught us nothing else, I mean, there are many lessons to be learned, but I think one of the things that it has demonstrated for us, there are few careers that are pandemic, recession, everything proof. And and are necessary no matter what. We see that someone's puppy is very upset, but we see the absolute necessity under every circumstance for our healthcare professionals in every specialty that we have. Even seeing Zoe going off and studying psychology and intending to come home.
Definitely.
Even though what we're dealing with during this time is a health pandemic, we've seen how governments across the globe have had to enlist I don't even want to call it assistance, the incredible support of mental health professionals and psychologists to support all that people are going through during a time like this. And so as you were speaking, that's one of the things I couldn't help to think about, is that I think we are gonna definitely see a continued rise through the insight that for the parents and students that may have needed extra little push to say, this is something I should look at. I think that's one of the silver linings to all of this, and they will be looking for more involvement in programs like this to figure out, okay, where can my child or where can I as a young person find my space in the healthcare community? And Zoe being an example of the fact that I think sometimes people forget that psychologists and mental health professionals are very much part of our healthcare community.
And they're also at the fore now, based on everything that has transpired and is currently transpiring. And the interesting part is I had my folder, and I would have gotten this card prior to COVID, right? Which actually says social isolation is as detrimental to one's health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, right? And I just found it recently. I'm like, what is this, right? And I pulled it out, and sure enough, let me see if you can see it, right? And sure enough, it's right there, right? And I'm here saying, and we have Zoe on as well. Look at that. This was with me prior, and obviously based on a lot of the lockdowns and things that would have been happening. And that's just one component. What about this stress of if you've lost a job, or if you're worried about losing a job, or if you can't make ends meet just based on everything that's happening? Think about the detrimental type of impacts that can have on you mentally. And this is when you're going to lean on mental health professionals even more. So to your point, across the board, healthcare professionals had to step up.
Yeah.
And we definitely will need the Zoes in the future when she comes back. And you're coming back, right, Zoe?
Of course.
Heard it there. You're not staying
Yes.
anywhere else. As soon as possible to come back to be one of the great professionals and to help fulfill the Cayman Islands mission of having such a great industry that has many more Caymanians within. I think is everybody's goal, both government, private sector, as well as certain parents as well. And I look forward to the day when we enter healthcare facilities and other places, and the majority of our people who would, I know who your mom is, right?
Absolutely. And Zoe, I have to turn to you and ask. So you have this year plus one more to finish up in this current degree. I'm not sure, what are your long-term intentions are, based on what you're studying. Will you be coming home after this degree, or is there further steps for you to take from an education standpoint before you start to look at coming back home?
Well, in this second year of my undergraduate, I'll be able to explore a lot more options in terms of specializations within psychology. So I presume that will guide me a lot further in my educational pathway. But I do intend to pursue master's, and we'll see about a PhD. That would be nice. But I definitely do plan to spend a while specializing and make sure that when I come back to Cayman, I am armed with a wealth of knowledge to help serve my community. And I do just also want to say that for any other students listening, you don't have to stay overseas or go overseas to get these types of opportunities. I got this SURF program experience here in Cayman with some of the leading healthcare professionals in the Caribbean. And I could not have gotten this opportunity in London, where I study. So it is always worthwhile looking at home, looking to see who can help you here to grow your career and to expand your horizons. So just to put that out there, you don't always have to look overseas.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because we are infamous sometimes for saying, you think that what you have to do is look outside of our shores for certain opportunities, and here you are saying, listen, I study outside the shore and couldn't get this kind of opportunity over in the UK while I am studying. I had to come home to get this experience. How did you learn about the SURF program?
I found it out through the Healthcare Explorers Facebook page. It was very informative, and going on to the Healthcare Explorers website as well.
Okay. And then so you researched and then decided that you would apply.
Yes.
Okay. And so I hear that, and I think Mr. Charles mentioned it. He mentioned that there's a 10 to 15 page paper that you have to write as part of your completion to this program. And, share with me a little bit about what you had to write about and what the journey to that getting that completed. What was that like for you?
So it was a large task, obviously, but we had to write about the different lectures that we experienced, about the different sectors that we heard from as a plan of care for this patient. So writing more about what we learned, what medical decisions would be taken to care for this patient, all the way from their emergency admissions to any outpatient services that they may have to make use of. So just writing all that we learned down, and it really helped consolidate everything that I learned.
Okay. And if you had to give any little tips and guidance, if there's someone, let's say a year from now, or a little bit shy of that, someone else who's about to embark on this SURF program at Health City Cayman Islands, regardless of whether it's virtual or in person or some marriage of both in the next cohort, as it relates to this case study in this paper, if you had to give them a couple of tips, what would they be?
I would just say to don't be scared. Be innovative, be enthusiastic, ask questions. And again, as a psychology student, my first thought was, oh my gosh, there's all these medical terms I've never seen before. Whoa. But, through research, through asking helpful questions of our lecturers, I was able to help myself produce this medical plan of care, this paper. So anything is possible. You just have to be determined enough to see it through.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So now we have about 4 minutes left before the hour of 6 o'clock. So I want to give everybody their opportunity to go around and give final thoughts. So Zoe, I'll ask you if you could just share any final thoughts and reminders or anything you would want to share with the listening public and students and their parents of students who may be considering a program such as this. What would you want to share with them, as a final thought this afternoon?
I firstly want to say a huge thank you to Mr. Bush, Mr. Scott, and the entire Healthcare Explorers team, all the medical professionals involved in providing this program to us, because we had, as our cohort had a fantastic experience virtually, but I am aware that there must have been a whole lot of administrative things to sort out to make that happen. So I am so grateful to everyone involved. And to anyone interested in applying for SURF next year or doing any other Healthcare Explorers program, I would highly encourage it. It helped me so much understand the medical field practically and theoretically. And I would just say, get yourself out there and chase those opportunities.
Awesome. Zoe, it has been a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for sharing all about your experience in the first ever virtual SURF program at Health City Cayman Islands. I look forward to hearing more from you and about all that you are doing over this journey until you come back home, until we're able to welcome you back home at whatever point you choose to join us as a professional in this industry. And safe travels in a couple of weeks, and I'm wishing you the absolute best second year off to university that you could ever have, and stay safe, of course. Mr. Charles, final thoughts and reminders from you this afternoon.
Well, last time I did this, Shomari told me I talk too much. So I just want to say that we're very excited about the 2020-2021 academic year. Information went out to teachers today, actually, about our field trip product for the new academic year, which will also be virtual. And if anyone has any questions about Healthcare Explorers, please email us at healthcare.explorers with an S at healthcity.ky, or call the office line 640-4195 or WhatsApp 526-2105.
Thank you very much, as always, Mr. Charles, and a pleasure to have you on. And Shomari, final thoughts from you this afternoon?
Yeah, and I did not tell Charles he spoke too much. How could I ever tell somebody that?
Oh, my goodness.
But I just want to end by thanking Zoe for agreeing to be a part of the program and actually putting her name forward, but also agreeing to come on and share her experience. Big thank you for that, Zoe. And also to thank Charles, as always. Charles is the backbone of the program, who puts in the time, the effort, and is also passionate about education, which is a valuable asset to Health City. And to Zoe's point, it took even more persons than usual to be able to be a part of. We have a limited team, but it took Tina Trumbach, it took Chanda Glidden, who are also a part of the team, to take time away from their other responsibilities in order to help us to get a lot of these virtual products together in order to host the young people who came through and had a great experience. So just want to thank them as well. And Ruthanna, it's a pleasure to see you in person. How's the baby doing?
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's a pleasure to see y'all, people to come back into the studio. She is a little big lady. If there's such a thing. I can't believe it. In about 12 days, she's about to hit the 20-month mark. January, she'll be 2 years old already. We are walking. Yeah, in January, she'll be 2. Yeah, that much time has passed, and she is talking, climbing. I won't even say walking, because we running and climbing. Right. Those are our primary mode of transportation these days. She is going to make me regret every independent bone I have in my body. So they always say that you get it back 3 times. My mother said, now you're going to learn. But it is also the greatest gift of my lifetime. Awesome. To be a mom to such a rambunctious little warrior princess, as I call her. So she's good, and thank you for asking. And I stayed pretty caught up with your festive household.
Yes, the 3 terrorists.
So, but happy to have you guys back. It is 6:01 on the Star 92.7 clock, which means we are out of here. And I'll be back again tomorrow at 5 o'clock sharp, right here for some more Straight Talk on Star 92.7.
For the island.